A family was falling apart. The father had stopped believing in God. The mother was drowning in despair. Their teenage daughter was choosing paths that led only to darkness. And then something happened that defied every natural explanation. A miracle so undeniable, so perfectly timed, that it shattered the walls of unbelief and brought an entire household to its knees. This isn't a story from centuries ago. This happened in our time, in a world just like yours, to a family that could be living next door to you right now. And the young saint who interceded for them died just 18 years ago, a teenager who understood modern struggles because he lived them. What you're about to witness will challenge everything you think you know about how God works in the 21st century. Because when heaven intervenes, it doesn't whisper, it crashes through our carefully constructed walls of skepticism with power that cannot be denied. Hit that like button immediately if you're ready to see proof that miracles still happen, and subscribe right away because this testimony will strengthen your faith in ways you cannot yet comprehend. Turn on those notifications because what we're sharing changes lives. The Moretti family looked perfect from the outside. Marco had a successful career in finance, his wife Elena was respected in their community, and their daughter Sophia was considered bright and talented. But inside their home, something had died that no amount of success could resurrect. Marco hadn't attended Mass in over a decade. His journey away from faith hadn't been dramatic or rebellious. It had been slow, methodical, built on years of unanswered prayers and disappointments that gradually convinced him that God, if he existed at all, certainly didn't care about individual human lives. Elena still believed, but her faith had become mechanical. She went through the motions, attended Sunday Mass alone, but the vibrant relationship with Christ she'd once known had withered into dry ritual. She prayed, but without expectation. She believed, but without joy. And Sophia. At 16, she was actively hostile to anything religious. To her, the church represented outdated rules and oppressive control. She had begun exploring practices that her parents didn't even know about, spiritual paths that promised power and enlightenment, but led somewhere far darker. Does this sound familiar? Maybe you know a family like this. Maybe you are this family. Drop a comment if this reality hits close to home, because what happens next proves that no situation is beyond heaven's reach. Everything changed on a Tuesday afternoon in March 2023. Elena was scrolling through social media when she stumbled across a video about Blessed Carlo Acutis. She had heard the name before but knew almost nothing about him. Something made her watch the entire video. As she learned about this teenage boy who loved Jesus in the Eucharist, who created websites about faith, who died at 15, Elena felt something stir that she thought had died long ago. Hope. Not the wishful thinking that pretends things might get better, but the supernatural hope that believes God can actually intervene in impossible situations. The video mentioned that people were reporting miracles through Carlo's intercession. That's when Elena made a decision that would change everything. She decided to pray a novena to Blessed Carlo Acutis for her family, specifically asking for 3 things: that Marco would return to faith, that Sophia would turn away from dangerous spiritual practices, and that their family would rediscover genuine love for each other. She didn't tell anyone what she was doing. She simply began praying each day, speaking to this young saint as if he were a friend who understood modern struggles because he'd lived them. But here's where the story takes an unexpected turn that will give you chills. On the 3rd day of Elena's novena, something strange happened to Marco at work. He was in a meeting, focused on financial projections, when he felt suddenly overwhelmed by an inexplicable sadness. Not the ordinary stress of work, but a deep grief that seemed to come from nowhere and everywhere at once. The feeling was so intense that he excused himself from the meeting and went to his office. As he sat at his desk trying to understand what was happening, a single thought entered his mind with absolute clarity. "You have forgotten who you are." Marco couldn't shake it. The words kept repeating, not as his own thoughts, but as if someone were speaking directly to his soul. He tried to return to work but found himself unable to concentrate. Finally, he left the office early, something he almost never did. When he arrived home, Elena was in the kitchen preparing dinner. Marco walked in and asked a question he hadn't asked in years. "Do you still pray?" Elena nearly dropped the pot she was holding. She turned to look at her husband, searching his face for sarcasm or mockery, but found only genuine curiosity, mixed with something that looked like pain. What happened in the conversation that followed would crack open years of accumulated bitterness and disappointment. Marco told Elena about the inexplicable sadness, about the words that wouldn't leave his mind. He confessed that he'd been feeling increasingly empty, despite his professional success, that something fundamental was missing from his life, that he'd been having dreams lately about his childhood faith. Elena, trembling with a mixture of shock and cautious hope, told him about the novena. She explained who Carlo Acutis was and what she'd been praying for. Marco's response stunned her. "I think I need to see a priest," he said. "Something is happening to me that I don't understand, and I think it might be God." Are you seeing the pattern here? Carlo Acutis, who lived in the digital age and understood the modern struggle to maintain faith, was reaching across the veil to touch a family that desperately needed help. But the miracle was just beginning. That same evening, Sophia came home later than expected. Her parents were waiting for her, and they could immediately tell something was wrong. Their daughter looked shaken, frightened in a way they'd never seen before. After much coaxing, Sophia finally broke down and confessed what had been happening. She had been attending meetings with a group that practiced occult rituals. She'd thought it was harmless, just exploring alternative spirituality. But that very afternoon, something had happened during one of their gatherings that had terrified her. She described feeling a presence during the ritual, something that felt malevolent and predatory rather than enlightening. She had felt trapped, unable to move, while the others in the group seemed unaware of what she was experiencing. Then suddenly, she had seen a flash of something, someone, a young person dressed in casual clothes who seemed to be made of light. The presence had vanished immediately, and Sophia had fled the gathering running all the way home. She was shaking as she told her parents, "I don't know who I saw, but whoever it was saved me from something terrible. I could feel it." Elena pulled up the video of Carlo Acutis on her phone and showed it to Sophia. Her daughter's face went white. "That's him," she whispered. "That's who I saw." Share this video immediately if you're feeling the power of this testimony. Someone in your network needs to see that God still performs miracles through his saints, especially through this young man who understands the spiritual dangers of our modern world. The next day, Elena called their local parish and explained that her family needed help. The priest, Father Antonio, agreed to meet with them that evening. When the Moretti family arrived at the church, they were nervous, uncertain, but something had shifted in all three of them. Father Antonio listened to their story with growing amazement. When they finished, he was quiet for a long moment before speaking. "I need to show you something," he said, leading them to a side chapel. There, on a small table, was an exhibit that had just been installed the day before. It featured information about Blessed Carlo Acutis and his Eucharistic Miracles project. The parish had received the materials unexpectedly, a donation from an anonymous benefactor who wanted to spread devotion to this young blessed. The family stared at the display, recognizing the face that had appeared to Sophia. Learning more about the saint whose intercession had broken through their walls of unbelief, Father Antonio explained the sacrament of reconciliation and the power of genuinely returning to faith. Marco, who had once dismissed such things as psychological manipulation, found himself wanting exactly what the priest described. That night, after years away, he went to confession. The experience broke him open. As he confessed years of abandoning his faith, of anger at God, of choosing career over family, Marco wept in a way he hadn't since childhood, and he experienced something he would later describe as feeling chains break away from his soul. Sophia went to confession next, unburdening herself of the dangerous spiritual practices she'd been involved in. The priest took her situation seriously, praying prayers of protection over her and explaining how she needed to completely sever ties with the occult group. Elena, though she had remained Catholic, also went to confession, acknowledging how her faith had become hollow, how she had stopped truly trusting God. Think about the precision of this intervention. The timing of Elena discovering Carlo Acutis, the supernatural sadness that struck Marco at exactly the right moment, the terrifying experience that jolted Sophia away from danger, the exhibit arriving at their parish at exactly the right time. This wasn't coincidence. This was orchestrated grace. Have you ever experienced God's perfect timing in your life? Comment below about a time when everything aligned in a way that could only be divine intervention. Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. The transformation in the Moretti family didn't stop with confessions. It accelerated. Marco began attending daily Mass, something Elena had never even prayed for because it seemed so impossible. He would wake early before work and spend 30 minutes in prayer and then attend Mass. His colleagues noticed the change immediately. The driven, sometimes harsh businessman became more patient, more considerate. When they asked what had happened to him, Marco didn't hide it. He told them about Carlo Acutis and the miracle that had saved his family. Sophia threw herself into learning about her faith, the faith she'd rejected and mocked. She devoured books about the saints, started praying the rosary, and began attending youth group at the parish. The transformation was so dramatic that her friends were stunned. She also became passionate about warning other young people about the dangers of occult practices. She understood in a way few her age did how real spiritual warfare is, and how disguising darkness as enlightenment is one of the enemy's favorite tactics. Elena's faith, which had been dying embers, burst back into flame. She started a prayer group dedicated to Blessed Carlo Acutis, specifically for families in crisis. Within months, dozens of women were gathering weekly to pray for their struggling families, invoking Carlo's intercession. But the miracles didn't stop with spiritual transformation. 3 months after Marco's return to faith, he faced a serious crisis at work. His company was downsizing, and his position was vulnerable. Instead of responding with the anxiety and manipulation he would have used in the past, Marco prayed. He entrusted the situation to God and specifically asked Blessed Carlo Acutis to intercede. The outcome was beyond anything Marco could have orchestrated himself. Not only was his position protected, but he was offered a promotion to a role that would require less travel and give him more time with his family. His new superior, coincidentally, was a practicing Catholic who valued Marco's integrity and faith. Sophia faced her own test when some of her former friends from the occult group tried to pull her back in. They showed up at her school, trying to convince her that she'd overreacted, that what she'd experienced was just her imagination. Sophia felt afraid, but turned to prayer, specifically asking Carlo Acutis for protection and courage. That very day, a new student transferred to her school. This girl, Maria, turned out to be a devout Catholic who had just moved to the area. She and Sophia became immediate friends, and Maria's presence gave Sophia the support system she needed to resist her former associates. The pattern was unmistakable. Every time the family faced a challenge, every time they turned to prayer and specifically invoked Blessed Carlo Acutis, help arrived in forms too perfect to be random. If you're still watching, you need to subscribe to this channel right away. We document real miracles, real transformations, and real evidence that God is actively working in our world. Don't miss a single story. Hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. The Moretti family's story reached the attention of their bishop when Father Antonio submitted a report about the extraordinary graces they had received. The bishop, moved by their testimony, invited them to share their story at a diocesan event about new evangelization. Standing before hundreds of people, Marco spoke about his journey from atheism to faith. His voice cracked with emotion as he described the inexplicable sadness that had broken through his hardened heart. "I thought I had everything figured out," he said. "I thought faith was for weak people who needed emotional comfort. I was wrong. Faith is for people who are strong enough to admit they need something beyond themselves." Sophia shared her testimony about the dangers of the occult and how Carlo Acutis had literally appeared to save her from something that could have destroyed her life. "Young people need to know," she said with passion, "that the spiritual world is real. Angels are real, demons are real, and we need to choose which side we're on." Eleanor spoke last, her message simple but powerful. Never stop praying for your family. Never think someone is too far gone. Never underestimate what God can do through the intercession of the saints. Carlo Acutis understood modern struggles because he lived in our world. He knows what we face, and he's interceding for us. The response to their testimony was overwhelming. Dozens of people approached them afterward, sharing their own stories of struggling families, lost faith, and desperate hope that something could change. The Moretti family found themselves in a position they never anticipated, becoming witnesses to the power of God's mercy. But there's one more element to this story that will leave you in awe. A year after the miracle that saved their family, the Morettis decided to make a pilgrimage to Assisi, where Carlo Acutis is buried. They wanted to thank him in person, to pray at his tomb, to express their gratitude for the intercession that had transformed their lives. When they arrived at the church where Carlo's body lies, they were struck by the number of young people present. Teenagers from around the world had come to pray to this young saint who understood them. The church was filled with an atmosphere of hope and genuine devotion that moved the entire Moretti family to tears. As they knelt before Carlo's tomb, each member of the family prayed silently, pouring out their gratitude. And then something remarkable happened. Sophia felt her phone vibrate in her pocket. She tried to ignore it, not wanting to be distracted during prayer, but it vibrated again insistently. Finally, she pulled it out, intending to silence it completely. On the screen was a message from a number she didn't recognize. It said simply, "Thank you for warning me. I almost made the same mistakes you did. Your testimony saved me." Sophia showed the message to her parents. They had no idea who had sent it or how this person had gotten Sophia's number. But the timing, receiving this message at that exact moment at Carlo's tomb, felt like a direct communication from heaven. Your suffering had purpose. Your transformation is bearing fruit. Your witness is saving others. Comment below if you've experienced moments like this, where God confirmed that your struggles had meaning. Your testimony in the comments section becomes part of how Carlo Acutis continues to work in the world. The theological significance of the Moretti family's miracle extends beyond one family's conversion. It demonstrates several crucial truths that the modern world needs to understand. First, it proves that sanctity is possible in the digital age. Carlo Acutis lived with technology, video games, and social media, yet achieved heroic virtue. His relevance to contemporary struggles makes his intercession particularly powerful for modern families facing modern problems. Second, it confirms that spiritual warfare is real and ongoing. Sophia's encounter with demonic presence during occult practices wasn't psychological drama. It was a genuine spiritual attack, and she needed genuine spiritual protection. The appearance of Carlo Acutis at that precise moment wasn't imagination. It was intervention. Third, it demonstrates that no one is beyond the reach of God's mercy. Marco had spent years building walls against faith, constructing arguments against God's existence, choosing career and success over spiritual matters. Yet one moment of divine grace shattered all those defenses. Digital distraction and secular materialism. His own struggles as a teenager make him empathetic to young people facing temptations and pressures that previous generations never encountered. His love for the Eucharist makes him a powerful intercessor for bringing people back to Mass and to genuine encounter with Christ. The practical application of this miracle should move you to action immediately. First, if your family is struggling with faith, unbelief, or spiritual danger, start a novena to Blessed Carlo Acutis today, not tomorrow, not next week. Today. The Moretti family's miracle began when Elena took that simple step of faith. Second, learn about Carlo Acutis and share his story, especially with young people. His life proves that holiness isn't boring or outdated. You can love technology, enjoy normal teenage activities, and still become a saint. Young people need to see this model. Third, take the spiritual world seriously. The Moretti family's experience with the occult wasn't unique. Millions of people, especially young people, are dabbling in practices they think are harmless, but that open doors to genuine spiritual danger. We need to warn them, protect them, and provide them with authentic spiritual alternatives. Fourth, never underestimate the power of persistent prayer. Eleanor prayed for her family when the situation looked hopeless. She interceded when her husband mocked faith and her daughter rejected the church. She kept praying, and heaven answered in ways beyond anything she could have orchestrated. Right now, write in the comments the name of someone you're going to start praying for through Carlo Acutis' intercession. Making this public commitment strengthens your resolve and creates a community of prayer that multiplies the power of your intercession. The Moretti family's story continues to unfold. Marco has become involved in men's ministry, helping other men rediscover their faith and their role as spiritual leaders in their families. He speaks regularly at conferences and retreats, sharing his testimony of conversion. Sophia is studying theology and discerning a vocation to religious life. The girl who once attended occult gatherings is considering becoming a consecrated bride of Christ. The transformation is so complete that those who knew her before can hardly believe she's the same person. Eleanor's prayer group has grown into a movement that spans multiple parishes. Hundreds of women gather regularly to pray for their families through the intercession of Blessed Carlo Acutis. They share testimonies of conversions, healings, restored relationships, and financial miracles. The pattern of Carlo's powerful intercession repeats again and again. The family recently learned that their story has been documented as part of the ongoing cause for Carlo's canonization. While their miracle may not be the official one required for his sainthood, it contributes to the growing body of evidence that this young blessed is actively interceding for the faithful. This raises a question you need to answer personally. If Carlo Acutis can work this kind of miracle for the Moretti family, what could he do for your family, for your marriage, for your children, for your own faith? The answer is whatever you need, if you're willing to ask and to cooperate with grace. As we conclude this powerful testimony, you need to understand that you didn't stumble across this video by accident. The algorithm didn't randomly suggest it. Heaven orchestrated this moment because there's something here you need to hear, or someone you need to share it with. Maybe you're the Marco in your family, the one who has walked away from faith and is searching for a reason to return. This story is for you. Carlo Acutis is interceding for you right now. That emptiness you feel isn't random. It's God calling you home. Maybe you're the Elena, faithfully praying for family members who seem beyond reach. This story is for you. Don't give up. Don't stop praying. Your intercession matters more than you know, and heaven is preparing miracles you cannot yet see. Maybe you're the Sophia, involved in spiritual practices that seem harmless but are actually dangerous. This story is for you. Turn away before something happens that you cannot undo. Carlo Acutis will protect you if you ask him, but you have to choose to walk away from darkness. Like this video right now and share it with everyone you know. This testimony needs to reach families who are falling apart, young people who are being deceived by occult practices disguised as enlightenment, and anyone who has given up hope that miracles still happen. Subscribe to this channel immediately and turn on all notifications. We are committed to sharing real testimonies of real miracles that prove God is active and working in our world today. You need these stories, and so does everyone you. Most importantly, start your own novena to Blessed Carlo Acutis today. Bring him your impossible situations, your broken relationships, your lost family members. Ask him to intercede with the same power that saved the Moretti family. Then watch what heaven does. In the comments section, commit to one specific action you'll take based on this testimony. Will you start praying for someone? Will you share this video? Will you begin learning about Carlo Acutis? Write it out. Make it real. Let your commitment inspire others. The Moretti family's miracle proves that sanctity is possible today, that conversion is possible today, that family restoration is possible today, and that God still breaks into our ordinary lives with extraordinary grace. Blessed Carlo Acutis, who loved Jesus in the Eucharist, who understood modern struggles, who died young but lives eternally, is interceding for you right now. Will you let him? Will you ask for his help? Will you believe that the same God who saved the Moretti family can save yours? The miracle that brought faith back to this family can be replicated in your family. The same heaven that intervened for them will intervene for you. The same Carlo Acutis who appeared to save Sophia is available to help you. All that's required is that you ask, believe, and cooperate with grace. Don't let this video end without taking action. The souls of your family members may depend on what you do in the next 5 minutes. Pray, share, commit, and watch as Blessed Carlo Acutis intercedes again, this time for you.